Hey guys, it's Mick, and today I'm going to explain my diet journey and why I'm on the diet that I'm on. Basically, to just start it off, when I was younger, my mother gave me options for what I wanted to eat. She was on a diet health journey herself and discovering what she herself wanted to eat, and I was impressionable. I had a lot of empathy for animals. I still do have a lot of empathy for animals. I didn't want to see them harmed. So I was basically raised vegetarian. I ate, dairy and eggs, but I was very much into health and wellness. And then I remember in middle school, I was starting to get a little chunkier and stuff, not necessarily eating the best, eating a lot of carbohydrates. So I wanted to lose weight. So I thought the vegan diet would help, and I became a vegan. And I was reading a lot of stuff from Bragg's and stuff, all those nonsense books that you can read. And I thought, maybe this guy's got a point. Maybe this is the most ethical thing for animals and what will help me as a human being in my diet journey. And so I started to become a vegan somewhere around end of middle school era. And I was vegan for several years, all through high school. I was severely malnourished. And yes, I did take tons of supplements, multivitamins, spirulina, things that I could get my hands on. I ate a ton of food. And I was trying to do the best I could. I was extremely weak physically. I couldn't lift things over my head. I would get orthostatic hypotension, which is where you get lightheaded and dizzy from standing up really quickly. I was constantly malnourished. My iron was low. My B12 was low. But I thought I was being healthy, and then I started juicing and eating a ton of stuff, and I thought this was healthy. This is what I needed. But my testosterone was incredibly low. I was incredibly malnourished. I couldn't focus or think. I was all ADD every day, all the time. My brain was just fried and scrambled at that point from just lack of nutrition. And I do not think it's ethical anymore for the vegan diet. The vegan diet, there's this idea that it's ethical, but millions of animals are killed every year from agriculture. Rodents and insects in particular are killed from it. And it's not ethical in the sense that as human beings, we need to thrive and survive. It's not ethical to the human beings that suffer from the vegan diet. And I can tell you I was suffering immensely. And it's really difficult because for all the decisions and bad choices I've made in my life, that is the one in which I regret the most. And the one that I wish I never had done was the vegan diet. It was the one that probably screwed me up the most physically and mentally. And there is no ethical way to do a vegan diet because something must die for you to live. What ended up happening is I ended up moving to Hawaii. And my friend Homer, hey Homer, fought with me so much to convince me that I was wrong about the vegan diet and that I should change. And he believed in me. And I decided, he finally convinced me. He convinced me it was wrong because in my mind, I've always been logical and scientific. And he convinced me that, there weren't plants everywhere to eat, I thought in my head, it's like, we would have evolved to be vegans and vegetarians, right? Because we wouldn't have been eating meat. We would have been, cultivating fruit and vegetables. But in reality, you walk around, do you see fruits and vegetables everywhere? No. People have to plant them. They have to cultivate them. They have to use agriculture. We didn't have the agricultural revolution, 100,000 years ago. We just had meat. You had to hunt to survive. And so I decided hey, I'm just gonna try to eat some meat. Maybe he's right. I might feel better. I instantly ate some meat and I started feeling alive. And I decided to start eating cheese, and I was eating canned Spam because of course it's Hawaii, you know, and then poke. And I could feel the protein getting back into my muscles, getting into my arms, getting into my legs. I could see the color coming back to my skin, and I was feeling alive. I was finally getting some weight back into me. I wasn't sickly anymore and malnourished. You could literally feel the nutrients just going in your body all over the place, and I just instantly started feeling better and more alive and more happy. And I was getting a ton of sun there. I was pale too, and I was getting a ton of sun in Hawaii and going swimming and exercising and eating meat, and I started feeling better. And then I ate standard American for about a year, and then I was going keto. So I was doing low carbohydrates, and then I was sort of convinced that maybe the carbohydrates were causing me to gain weight. I was starting to get a little fat, and I was having a ton of issues with that. So I decided, I think I'm gonna lay low off the carbs, and I was doing the Atkins thing, but those Atkins bars, they make you get really sick with those artificial sweeteners. So I didn't stay on that very long. And then I discovered Carnivore, and I just started doing tons of meat, tons of cheese, eggs. I wasn't eating really any fruits or vegetables or anything, and I felt better at first. You know, I was losing weight, I was thriving, I was doing so much better. I started hitting the gym, and it was such an improvement. And then I started having things like heart palpitations. I started having issues with my sleep. I couldn't sleep necessarily. And I realized also too that I was eating chicken that had corn and soy fed diets. And the linoleic acid buildup from that essentially was causing me to have health issues in its own right. And so I did eventually realize, hey, I might have an autoimmune disorder. And so my autoimmune disorder that I have, I don't know specifically what it is, but I would get tons of inflammation in my legs, in my hands, in my arms, in my shoulders. I would be in pain rolling around all night, and so much chronic pain. And I couldn't figure out what was causing it. I was having headaches and nausea, and all that I realized was caused by seed oils, which I wasn't avoiding at the time. And the arthritis in my hands was even preventing me from being able to play guitar. And it was just kind of this terrible thing where I couldn't figure out what was wrong. Why was I still having health issues despite putting in all this effort? Then I discovered Dr. Paul Saladino online, and he helped me tremendously. And I know he's helped a ton of people, and I've had the pleasure of meeting him now. But using his information, I was able to make some key changes. Thankfully, I had seen him as a carnivore, and I was very into carnivore diet just like him. But I wasn't avoiding seed oils. I wasn't including fruit and honey in my diet. And now I think I went from carnivore, which I still think is great, to an animal-based diet like Paul Saladino. And I love the idea that it made the most logistical sense. It's all about the chemicals in the food. What are the chemicals that you are eating, and how do they react to the body and to your gut, right? And that's all you need to know. You need to figure out how they do it. There's no argument on what is the proper, most optimal human diet for humans when we know what chemicals and how they react to the body. So for me, it's like you can still eat that grass-fed ground steak and organs and meat and all that stuff, but add a little bit of fruit and honey with it, and you'll start to feel way better. And I did, and my workouts started to get longer, and I didn't get tired, and I had way more energy, and I felt more alive, and I wasn't having the heart palpitations and the sleep issues anymore, and I could sleep better, and I could relax, and I wasn't feeling down all the time. And then I started eating things like fermented vegetables like kimchi and sauerkraut and sour cream and raw kefir milk and all these things. And they really helped my gut, and I started to feel so much more alive, so much better, so healthy. I was working out for hours. I didn't run out of energy, ever. I never run out of energy. I never feel tired. I'm always alive, always happy, always willing to do stuff because I feel like myself now. I feel that I can finally live because of my diet journey, because I changed my diet drastically. So when you put it that way into the most logical sense of the chemicals that you are eating, that's the best way I can describe it. It's all about the chemicals. Or, you know, if you look at vegetables, they're fiber, they're, you know, water. That's not what humans are made of. We're made of protein, we're made of fat, we're made of water, right? We're made of these vitamins and minerals and all these other things that you get, and the most biodiversity is in red meat. But vegetables don't really have any of that, you know? And I started to learn about things like anti-nutrients that are in vegetables, and these prevent you from digesting nutrients and prevent you from digesting and absorbing food that you might eat. But when you look at fruit, it's colorful, it's bright, it is inviting and welcoming and warm to you. It's sweet and juicy. It's like the fruit is telling you to eat it. And our bodies are saying, yeah, that tastes really great. That makes a lot of sense, right? But when you deny logic, when you deny reasoning, when you deny the chemical aspect of it, you're denying what human biology is meant for. And that's what I did for the longest time. I still think if you're going to be on a diet, the animal base is the best. Carnivore, even vegetarian might be better sometimes because the American diet is so bad. It's mostly processed food. It's mostly because we're eating things and parts of the plants and chemicals that are just completely artificial, weren't meant for human beings to consume. Things like grains, nuts and seeds, seed oils that are a huge part of the human diet now. These are just so bad and so far from what human beings were intended to eat, what our proper nutrition is supposed to be. And that's what I want for people, is to just be happy and healthy. That's why I spread this message. I was suffering so greatly. I was so unhappy. And a lot of that just had to do with the fact that I was on an improper diet. And once your diet changes, your life can get better in so many other ways. But to see all these people suffering with so many chronic health issues like myself, to see people rolling around in pain and going to the doctors and getting checkups and having all these health issues because they've been following something that just isn't right for the human body, for the human experience. They can't live happy and healthy and thriving because of all these things that they're consuming. So I've made a lot of these videos on my Instagram, which if you don't follow my Instagram and you look at my stories, I have a health and fitness part of it. And you can see what food I cook. You can see my advice for it. I know I'm not the first and only person. You can go follow Paul Saladino and watch all his videos. He's going to give you much better information than what I can, but I can tell you my own personal journey with it and tell you, you know, what kind of issues I had and why I went so extreme. You might lose friends over it. You might lose people over it. It's really hard dating when people aren't accepting of your diet and people want to go out to eat in America and people want to eat mac and cheese and pizza and order it, and it gets difficult. You will have to put the effort in to cook your own food, to prepare your own meals, to make alternatives. You can still have ice cream, you can still have pizza, but you just might have to make it yourself from scratch. out of things that you know you can eat it with. And it can be challenging, and it was challenging. But what is worse is dealing with in and out of the hospitals in your 60s and 70s and 80s with chronic health issues, with cancer, with heart disease, with diabetes, with all these other issues. And myself with my autoimmune disorder, being in pain, rolling around every night in pain, being unhappy, not being able to go outside, to enjoy life, to not feel good every day, to just be tired and groggy and in pain and have headaches and mood swings and terrible bad breath and not being able to breathe because I had sinus issues. That's much worse. And having the bloating and things, do you really want that? To me, that is far worse than just having to prepare your food every day. And the food I eat is delicious. I mostly eat the same thing every day. I eat grass-fed, grass-finished ground beef, 2 patties, usually with some pickles and sour cream with honey on top. And then I'll make myself a smoothie with something like raw milk or raw kefir, and I'll mix it with some maple syrup and some blueberries, some like mango and banana in there, and some raw eggs in the smoothie. And that's about it. And I just eat those things every day, and I don't really get that hungry. I only eat 1 meal a day now. Vegans, you have to eat multiple meals a day because you'll always be hungry. And now I eat 1 meal a day. If I do eat again, it's like another smoothie maybe an hour or so later. If I work out a lot, I might need to have a little bit of a piece of steak or something. But for the most part, I just eat 1 meal a day around 2 o'clock. And that works really well for me. And it works great. And I even started doing things like avoiding polyester, and everything I wear is 100% cotton, mostly organic, and all my linens and things. And it makes you feel good to just know you're avoiding plastics, you're avoiding things, you're actually helping the environment more by doing all these things, of being conscious, buying organic, buying things that are from regenerative farming, buying things from the farmers and local that you trust and you know are not coming from big corporations. And it's going to be life-changing. And it's been quite the journey for me. And if you're at all interested, you can comment below and ask any questions you want. And if you're thriving and you're doing great, that's all right. Go do you. I don't want to be religious about this or anything or force it upon anyone. It's not like that. It's just offering my advice and offering my experience for what I had to deal with for so long. And I hope that in the future, more people will start eating an animal-based diet, and we can get away from these unnatural chemicals that we have been eating and consuming and been completely brainwashed into eating in the United States, and people can be happier and healthier and thriving because of it, and that we can stop having these chronic health issues that flood the hospitals, and that we can stop buying into big pharma and buying into big agriculture and just be happy and healthy and live our lives natural as we were supposed to as human beings were living for hundreds of thousands of years until all just but recent. This is all just recent. And we have to realize that maybe it's a slow or tough journey, but it's a journey worth going on. So anyways, I hope that helped, and I hope that you all maybe learned something from it. If you made it this far, thank you so much, and I hope that this even helps one person who might see it, and at the very least, I'm enjoying making this content for you guys. So have a good one, and bye now.